Robert Louis Stevenson. The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Part 1. Story of the Door. Mr. Utterson, the lawyer, was a man with a hard face that never smiled. He was cold, spoke little, and felt shy when talking. He did not show feelings. He was thin, tall, dusty, dull, and yet somehow easy to like. At friendly meetings, and when he liked the wine, something very human showed in his eyes, something that never came into his speech, but showed not only in these quiet signs on his face after dinner, but more often and more clearly in his actions. He was strict with himself. He drank gin when he was alone to control his liking for wine, and although he enjoyed the theater, he had not been to one for 20 years. But he was tolerant of others. He sometimes wondered, almost with envy, at the strong energy in their bad actions, and in any serious situation, he preferred to help rather than to blame. "I incline to Cain's heresy," he used to say in a strange way. "I let my brother go to the devil in his own way." Because of this, he was often the last respectable friend and the last good influence in the lives of men who were going downhill. And to such people, as long as they came to his office, he never showed any change in his behavior. No doubt this was easy for Mr. Utterson. He did not show emotions even at the best of times, and even his friendship seemed to be based on a wide and kind nature. It is a sign of a modest man to accept his friends as they come by chance, and that was the lawyer's way. His friends were people from his family, or those he had known for a long time. His feelings, like ivy, grew slowly over time, and did not depend on special qualities in the other person. This explains the connection between him and Mr. Richard Enfield, his distant relative, a well-known man in society. Many people found it hard to understand what these two saw in each other, or what they could talk about. People who met them on their Sunday walks said that they did not talk, looked very dull, and were clearly happy when they met a friend. Even so, the two men valued these walks very highly, saw them as the best part of the week, and not only gave up pleasures, but even ignored work so that they could enjoy them without interruption. One day, during one of these walks, they went down a small side street in a busy part of London. The street was small and what people call quiet, but it had many successful shops during the week. The people who lived there all seemed to be doing well and were trying to do even better, and they spent their extra money on making things look attractive, so the shop fronts along the street looked inviting, like rows of smiling shop assistants. Even on Sunday, when it hid its brighter attractions and was fairly empty, the street stood out compared to the dirty area around it, like a fire in a forest. And with its freshly painted shutters, well-polished metal, and general cleanliness and cheerfulness, it quickly caught and pleased the eye of anyone passing by. 2 doors from one corner, on the left side going east, the line of houses was broken by the entrance to a small yard, and at that point, a strange and unpleasant building showed its front towards the street. It was 2 stories high. It had no windows, only a door on the ground floor, and a blank, discolored wall on the upper floor. And everything about it showed signs of long and dirty neglect. The door had no bell and no knocker, and it was damaged and stained. Homeless people went into the corner and lit matches on the panels. Children played shop on the steps. Schoolboys had cut the wood with their knives, and for almost a whole generation, no one had tried to stop these visitors or repair the damage. Mr. Enfield and the lawyer were on the other side of the small street, but when they came level with the entrance, Mr. Enfield raised his cane and pointed. "Did you ever notice that door?" he asked, and when his companion said yes, "It is connected in my mind," he added, "with a very strange story." "Really?" said Mr. Utterson, with a slight change in his voice. "And what was that?" Well, it happened like this, said Mr. Enfield. I was coming home from a very far place, about 3 o'clock on a dark winter morning, and I walked through a part of town where there was nothing to see except lamps. Street after street, and all the people asleep. Street after street, all lit up like for a parade, and all as empty as a church. Until I got into that state of mind when a man listens and starts to want to see a policeman. Suddenly, I saw 2 figures. One was a small man walking quickly to the east, and the other was a girl of maybe 8 or 10 who was running as fast as she could down a side street. Well, sir, the 2 ran into each other at the corner, which was natural. And then came the horrible part. The man calmly walked over the child's body and left her screaming on the ground. It sounds nothing when you hear it, but it was terrible to see. It was not like a man, it was like some terrible machine. I shouted a few times, ran after him, caught him, and brought him back to where a group had already gathered around the screaming child. He was completely calm and did not resist, but he gave me one look so ugly that it made me sweat. The people who came out were the girl's family, and soon the doctor, who she had been sent for, arrived. Well, the child was not badly hurt, more frightened, according to the doctor, and you might think that would be the end of it. But there was one strange thing. I disliked this man from the first moment I saw him. So did the girl's family, which was natural. But the doctor was what surprised me. He was a normal, serious doctor, not young or old, with a strong Edinburgh accent and not very emotional. Well, sir, he was like the rest of us. Every time he looked at my prisoner, I saw that doctor turn pale with the wish to kill him. I knew what he was thinking, just as he knew what I was thinking. And since we could not kill him, we did the next best thing. We told the man we could and would create such a scandal that his name would be hated across all London. If he had any friends or any good reputation, we said he would lose them. And all the time, while we were speaking very strongly, we tried to keep the women away from him, because they were as wild as angry birds. I never saw so many hateful faces, and there was the man in the middle, with a kind of dark, mocking calm. Afraid, too, I could see that, but hiding it, really like Satan. "If you choose to make use of this accident," he said, "I am naturally helpless. No gentleman wants a scene," he said. "Name your price." Well, we forced him to pay £100 for the child's family. He clearly wanted to refuse, but there was something about all of us that showed we were serious, and in the end he agreed. The next thing was to get the money. And where do you think he took us, but to that place with the door? He quickly took out a key, went in, and soon came back with about £10 in gold and a check for the rest from Coots, written to bearer and signed with a name that I cannot mention, although it is an important part of my story. But it was a name that was very well known and often printed. The amount was large, but the signature was worth even more, if it was real. I took the chance to tell my gentleman that the whole thing looked suspicious, and that a man does not, in real life, go into a cellar door at 4 in the morning and come out with another man's check for almost £100. But he was calm and mocking. "Do not worry," he said. "I will stay with you until the banks open and cash the check myself." So we all went together, the doctor, the child's father, our friend, and I. And we spent the rest of the night in my rooms. And the next day, after breakfast, we all went to the bank. I gave the check myself and said I had strong reasons to think it was false. Not at all. The check was real. "Tut, tut," said Mr. Utterson. "I see you feel the same as I do," said Mr. Enfield. "Yes, it is a bad story. Because my man was someone nobody would want to know. a truly terrible man. And the person who signed the check is a very respectable man, well known, and, what makes it worse, one of your people who do what they call good. Blackmail, I suppose. An honest man paying a lot of money for some mistakes from his youth. Blackmail House is what I call the place with the door because of this. Although even that does not explain everything, he added. And then he became quiet and thoughtful. Mr. Utterson suddenly brought him back by asking, "And you don't know if the person who signed the check lives there?" "A strange place for that, isn't it?" said Mr. Enfield. "But I have noticed his address. He lives in some square." "And you never asked about the place with the door?" said Mr. Utterson. "No, sir. I had a sense of respect," was the reply. "I feel strongly about asking questions. It is too much like the Day of Judgment. You start a question, and it is like starting a stone. You sit quietly on the top of a hill, and the stone goes down, hitting others. And soon some innocent person, the last person you would expect, is hurt in his own garden, and the family has to change their name. No, sir, I have a rule. The more it looks like something strange, the less I ask." "A very good rule," said the lawyer. "But I have studied the place myself," continued Mr. Enfield. "It hardly seems like a house. There is no other door, and nobody goes in or out of that one, except sometimes the man from my story. There are 3 windows looking into the yard on the first floor, none below. The windows are always shut, but they are clean. And there is a chimney which is usually smoking, so someone must live there. And yet it is not certain, because the buildings are so close together around the yard that it is hard to say where one ends and another begins." The 2 men walked on again for a while in silence, and then, "Enfield," said Mr. Utterson, "that is a good rule of yours." "Yes, I think so," said Enfield. "But still," continued the lawyer, "there is one thing I want to ask. I want to ask the name of the man who walked over the child." "Well," said Mr. Enfield, "I don't see any harm in that. His name was Hyde." Said Mr. Utterson. "What is he like?" "He is not easy to describe. There is something wrong with his appearance, something unpleasant, something really horrible. I have never seen a man I disliked so much, and yet I hardly know why. He must be deformed somewhere. He gives a strong feeling of deformity, although I cannot say where. He looks very strange, and yet I cannot name anything unusual. No, sir, I cannot explain it. I cannot describe him. And it is not because I forget. I can see him clearly right now." Mr. Utterson walked again for some time in silence, and was clearly thinking deeply. "Are you sure he used a key?" he asked at last. "My dear sir," began Enfield, surprised. "Yes, I know," said Utterson. "I know it seems strange. The truth is, if I do not ask you the name of the other person, it is because I already know it. You see, Richard, your story has made a strong impression. If you have made any mistake, you should correct it." "I think you could have warned me," said the other, a little annoyed. "But I have been exactly correct, as you say. The man had a key, and what is more, he still has it. I saw him use it less than a week ago." Mr. Utterson sighed deeply, but said nothing, and the young man soon continued. "Here is another lesson. Say nothing," he said. "I am ashamed that I talked so much. Let us agree never to speak about this again." "With all my heart," said the lawyer. "I agree to that, Richard."